You do not have to do anything tonight. I want you to hear that before anything else. You do not have to perform. You do not have to generate the right level of faith or the right quality of prayer or the right emotional posture for what is about to happen in this room to happen. You do not have to be strong. You do not have to be awake. You do not have to be anything other than exactly what you are right now, which may be exhausted, which may be depleted, which may be the specific kind of tired that sleep does not fully fix and that has been accumulating for longer than you have admitted to anyone. That is enough. That is more than enough. Because what is about to happen in this room does not require your active participation. It requires your presence, just your presence. The fact of you being here, the fact that something in you reached for this video at whatever hour this is, that you pressed play, that you are in the room, that is the only thing required. Everything else is going to be done by the God who does not sleep and who does not grow weary and who works in the night the way he works in the day, without interruption, without diminishment, without the limitations that the human body and the human soul carry into the hours when the reserves are lowest and the defenses are thinnest, and the weight of everything being carried is most present. He works in the night. He has always worked in the night. And tonight, while you rest, while the eyes close, while the conscious mind releases its grip on the managing and the protecting and the keeping it together that it has been doing all day, he is going to be working in the specific places, at the specific chains, in the specific dimensions of your life that need his presence most, and that he has been waiting for the stillness to access most fully. You do not have to do anything. Just stay. Just rest. Just let the room be filled with what is already filling it. And let the night do what the night was designed to do in the hands of a God who never sleeps. I want to say something about the specific nature of this video before we go any further, because I think understanding what it is and what it is designed to do will change the way you receive it. This is not a teaching video. It is not a session designed to inform or to challenge or to take you through a theological argument that requires active engagement. It is a presence video, a soaking video, a video designed to be the specific, sustained, spirit-filled atmosphere of a room in which God is invited to do what he does in the night, in the hours when the human noise has quieted and the human effort has ceased, and the specific conditions that the deep work of God requires are most fully present. The ancient Christian contemplatives understood something about the night that the busy, output-oriented, productivity-measured spirituality of the modern world has largely forgotten. They called it the prayer of quiet, the prayer of resting in the presence of God without agenda, without petition, without the performance of spiritual activity, simply being in the room with God, open, receptive, undefended, and allowing his presence to do what his presence does when it is given the conditions it requires. Psalm 46, verse 10. Be still and know that I am God. The stillness is not incidental to the knowing. It is the condition of the knowing. The knowing that comes in the stillness is a different quality of knowing than the knowing that comes in the activity. It is deeper, more permanent, more foundational, and it requires the one thing that the activity seasons make most difficult: the actual stopping, the releasing of the grip. The letting of the night be the night rather than another opportunity for managed spiritual production. Tonight is that night. This video is that room. And the God who works in the stillness is already at work in it. There is something I want you to do before this video becomes the background of your night. It will take less than a minute. and it is the one act of intentional participation that this video is going to ask of you before the resting begins. I want you to take whatever you are carrying tonight, the specific thing, the particular weight, the named burden that has been present through the day and that you are bringing into the night, and I want you to open your hands and release it, not resolve it, not fix it, not pray the right prayer over it that produces the right outcome. Just release it. Open the grip. Let it be in the room without you having to hold it, because the grip, the specific, sustained, and exhausting grip of a person who has been managing the weight all day and who is now entering the night still managing, is the thing that prevents the rest, and the rest is what the night requires. And the night is what God needs to work in the ways the night allows. So open the hands, release the grip. Let the specific thing be in the room, acknowledged, present, real, without you having to hold it through the night. God has it. He has always had it. The releasing does not remove it from His awareness. It releases it from your grip into His, which is where it was always supposed to be and where it can actually be worked on rather than simply managed. Open the hands, release the grip. Let the night begin, and let the God who never sleeps work in it. Stay, rest, and let what is already happening in this room continue to happen while you do. I want to establish something at the very foundation of what this night is going to be, something that I think most people who have grown up in Christian contexts have heard referenced, but that very few have received in a way that actually changes how they experience the night hours. It is the theology of divine nocturnal activity, the specific, scripturally documented, thoroughly demonstrated reality that God works in the night in ways that the daytime does not allow, not because He is more present in the night than in the day, but because the night creates conditions in the human soul and in the human body that make certain kinds of divine work possible in ways that the noise and the activity and the managed effort of the day prevent. Psalm 121, verses 3 and 4. He will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. But indeed, He who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The God who is in this room with you right now as you enter the night does not sleep. He does not enter a diminished state of attention when the hours grow late. He does not reduce His presence or His activity because the human body requires the rest that His nature does not require. He is as fully present at 3 in the morning as He is at noon, as fully active at 4 in the morning as He is at the most spiritually productive hour of the day. And the specific significance of that for the person who is entering the night, carrying the weight of the day, is this: the night is not the absence of God's activity. It is the specific season of God's activity that the day makes most difficult. Because in the day the human noise is loudest, the managing is most active. The effort is most consuming. The grip on the weight is tightest, and God, who works with gentleness, who speaks in the still small voice, who does His most foundational work in the quiet places that the noise of effort cannot reach, has been waiting for the night. Not because He was absent in the day, because the day was too loud for the specific kind of work the night allows, and now the night has arrived, and the noise is quieting, and the managing is releasing, and the grip is loosening, and the conditions that the deep work requires are forming. And God, who has been watching over you without slumber through every hour of the day, is beginning the work that the day was too loud to contain. Let the night be the night. He is already working in it. I want to take you now into something that I think is one of the most practically significant and one of the most consistently overlooked dimensions of the theology of rest in Scripture. The word that is translated rest in the New Testament, the specific Greek word that Jesus uses in Matthew 11:28 when he says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest," is anapausis. And anapausis does not simply mean the cessation of activity. It does not mean simply stopping. It carries the specific connotation of refreshment, of the active restoration of what has been depleted by the activity that preceded the rest. The rest that Jesus promises is not passive. It is restorative. It is the specific, active, or divinely administered restoration of the soul that had been expending itself in the wearing of the yoke, the religious performance, the sustained effort, the managed carrying of what was never designed to be carried alone, and the anapausis that Jesus promises, the rest that he gives rather than the rest that the person generates through their own cessation of activity, is available specifically in the night hours. In the hours when the effort has ceased and the performance has stopped and the managed carrying has been released into the hands of the God who was always supposed to be carrying it. This is the rest that is available to you tonight. Not just the physical rest of sleep, though that is real and necessary and good. The anapausis rest. The active, restorative, divinely administered rest that does something in the interior of a person while they sleep that the waking hours cannot produce. The soul that enters the night in the presence of God, that releases the grip before the sleeping begins, that opens the hands and lets the weight be held by the one who never sleeps. That soul receives something in the night that the soul that enters the night still managing does not receive. The restoration of what the day depleted, the healing of what the carrying cost, the specific interior, sometimes invisible work of a God who uses the stillness of the night to do what the noise of the day prevented. Let him do it tonight. The anapausis is available. The restoration is real. And it begins the moment the grip is released and the stillness is allowed and the night is given to the God who works in it. I want to add one more layer to this theological foundation before the video transitions into the sustained atmosphere of prayer and declaration and worship that it is designed to be. Because I think there is something important to say about what God specifically does in the night, what the night hours are being used for in the specific life of the specific person who is in this room right now, that will change the way you experience the hours between now and morning. The book of Job, chapter 33, verses 14 through 16. For God does speak, now one way, now another, though no one perceives it. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls on people as they slumber in their beds, he may speak in their ears and terrify them with warnings. God speaks in the night, in the dream, in the vision, in the deep sleep, in the specific, undefended, conscious mind release state of a person who is no longer managing the interior, but who has released it into the stillness of the night. The night is not the absence of divine communication. It is one of the primary channels through which God speaks to the people whose waking hours are too noisy for the speaking to be heard. Daniel received visions in the night. Jacob wrestled with God through the night and received his new name at dawn. The shepherds received the announcement of the birth of Jesus in the night. Joseph received the instruction to flee to Egypt in the night. The Magi were warned in a dream in the night. God has been using the night as a primary channel of revelation and instruction and formation throughout the entire breadth of Scripture. And the person who enters the night in the conscious Intentional awareness that God speaks in the night, who releases the grip and opens the hands and lets the stillness form and says specifically and deliberately to the God who never sleeps, I am in the room. I am releasing the grip. Speak what you need to speak. Do what you need to do. Work in the night what the day has not allowed. That person is positioning themselves to receive what the night has always been designed to give. You are in the room. The grip is releasing. The stillness is forming. And the God who speaks in the night, who works in the deep sleep, who does his most foundational formation in the hours when the conscious mind has released its management, is already speaking, already working, already doing in the specific dimensions of your life what the day was too loud to allow. Let the night be the night. You are in the right room, and he's already at work in it. I want to take you into 3 portraits from Scripture tonight. 3 specific, documented, theologically significant portraits of people who encountered God in the night in ways that changed everything about who they were and what they carried when the morning arrived. Not the triumphant encounters of the daytime, the specific, quiet, sometimes wrestling, sometimes singing, sometimes sleeping encounters of the night hours. The hours when the defenses were lowest, and the noise was quietest, and the conditions that the deepest divine work requires were most fully present. The first portrait is Jacob, and the night encounter of Jacob is one of the most extraordinary and most theologically dense narratives in all of the Old Testament. Genesis chapter 32. Jacob is on his way back to face his brother Esau, the brother he had deceived, but the brother whose birthright he had stolen, the brother whose anger had driven him into exile 20 years earlier, and who is now approaching with 400 men. Jacob is carrying the specific weight of a man who has a past that is catching up with him, who knows that what was done cannot be undone, and that the encounter ahead is going to require something that he is not sure he has. He sent his family ahead. He sent his servants ahead. He sent the gifts ahead, the elaborate, carefully calculated peace offering of a man who knows the weight of the debt he is carrying and who is trying to address it with the instruments available to him. And he was left alone. And a man wrestled with him until the breaking of the day. He was left alone. That detail matters. Both the wrestling that produces the transformation, the encounter with God that changes the name and the nature and the destiny, happens in the alone, in the night. After everyone else has been sent ahead, after the noise of the entourage and the business of the preparation and the managed effort of the peacemaking have all been dispatched into the darkness ahead of him, and he was left alone, in the alone of the night. The wrestling began, and the wrestling lasted until the breaking of the day. All night. Not a brief encounter, not a quick divine visitation that resolved itself in a moment of clarity and sent Jacob on his way, refreshed and redirected. All night, the full duration of the darkness. The wrestling was the night. And at some point in the wrestling, at the specific moment when the man who was wrestling with Jacob saw that he could not prevail against him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, and the socket was put out of joint. And he said, "Let me go, for the day is breaking." And Jacob said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me. I will not let you go unless you bless me." That is the declaration of a man who has been wrestling all night with something he does not fully understand, and who has concluded, in the darkness, in the wrestling, in the alone, that whatever this is, it is the source of the blessing he has been trying to obtain through human means his entire life. And the man said, "What is your name?" And he said, "Jacob." And he said, "Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with God and with men and have prevailed." A new name. At the breaking of the day, after a full night of wrestling in the alone, the name change, the identity transformation, the new nature, the new destiny came out of the night, out of the wrestling, out of the specific, sustained, all-night encounter with God that the daytime could never have produced, because the daytime was too full of the noise and the strategy and the managed effort of a man trying to solve his problems with the instruments available to him. The night stripped all of that away, and in the stripping, in the alone, in the dark, in the wrestling, the new name arrived, and Jacob named the place Peniel, saying, "I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved." He saw God face to face in the night, in the wrestling, in the alone. And he came out of the night limping, with the physical mark of the encounter permanently present in his body, and carrying a new name, a new identity, a new destiny. The night did what the day could not do. I want to take you back to the Philippian prison, but tonight I want to approach it not from the angle of the warfare, which we explored in video 11, but from the angle of the night itself. Because what happened in the Philippian prison at midnight is one of the most specific and most theologically instructive portraits of what God does in the night when the conditions are right. Acts chapter 16. Paul and Silas, beaten, bound, innermost cell, feet in stocks, maximum restraint, maximum darkness. And at midnight, at the specific, documented, hour named midnight of their maximum restraint, they prayed and sang hymns to God. And the prisoners were listening. I want to stop at that detail for a moment. The prisoners were listening in the night, in the darkness. Who in the cells around Paul and Silas, people who were in their own various forms of bondage, carrying their own various weights, inhabiting their own various degrees of restraint, were awake in the midnight and listening to the sound of two people praying and singing in the darkness, not because the sound was conventional, not because the sound was what you would expect to hear from the innermost cell of a first-century Roman prison at midnight, because the sound was extraordinary, because the sound of worship in the midnight of maximum restraint is one of the most arresting and most inexplicable sounds available to the human ear. And the prisoners were listening, and suddenly there was a great earthquake. The foundations shook, the doors opened, every chain fell, and the jailer, who had been sleeping, who woke to the earthquake and assumed the prisoners had escaped and was about to take his own life, found Paul and Silas still there, still present, unescaped, and he fell before them trembling and said, "What must I do to be saved?" The midnight of maximum restraint became the midnight of maximum breakthrough. The night became the location of the most significant conversion of the entire Philippian mission. The chains fell not in the day when everything was visible and the conditions seemed favorable, but in the midnight when everything was darkest and the restraint was maximum, and the only sound in the prison was the sound of two people who had decided that the midnight did not determine the declaration, that the chains did not determine the worship, that the darkness of the night was not the evidence that God had left the room, but the specific condition in which the most extraordinary demonstration of His presence was about to occur. And I need you to receive that as a direct word about the specific night you are entering right now. The darkness of the night you are carrying into this room is not the evidence that God has left it. It is the specific condition in which the most extraordinary work of His presence is about to occur. The chains that are present in your life right now, whatever they are, however long they have been present, however maximum the restraint has felt, are in a room with a God who is about to shake the foundations, not because the conditions are favorable, because the midnight worship is going up, because you are in the room, because the sound of your presence here, the specific, costly, against everything the darkness is saying, decision to be in this room tonight, is going up before the God who shakes foundations in response to midnight worship. The chains are going to fall, not all at once, not necessarily by morning, but the shaking has begun, and what God shakes always falls. Let the night work, let the midnight worship continue, and let the foundations shake. I want to bring Elijah into this section one more time, but from the angle of the night that the angel visited him under the juniper tree. Because what happened there in the darkness, in the alone, in the most depleted moment of Elijah's entire life, is one of the most tender and most theologically significant portraits of what God does for his people in the night of their maximum exhaustion. 1 Kings 19. Elijah under the juniper tree, asking to die, and he lay down and slept under the juniper tree. He slept. In the middle of his crisis, in the middle of his maximum exhaustion, in the middle of the specific theological and emotional and physical depletion of a man who has been carrying more than one person was designed to carry for longer than one person was designed to carry it. He slept. And the text does not describe the sleeping as a failure of faith or a failure of persistence or the evidence of insufficient spiritual fortitude. It describes it as what a depleted human being does when the carrying has exceeded the capacity. He lay down and slept, and behold, an angel touched him. The angel touched him, physically, in the sleep, in the night, in the most depleted, most alone, most asking to die moment of the entire narrative. Not in the triumphant moment of Mount Carmel, not in the moment of maximum spiritual performance, in the sleeping under the juniper tree. The touch came in the night and said, "Arise and eat." And he looked, and behold, there was at his head a cake baked on hot coals and a jar of water. Bread, water, in the night, in the sleep, provided without effort, without seeking. Without the managed spiritual production of a person who is performing the right level of faith to merit the provision, he was asleep, and the provision arrived, and he ate and drank and lay down again. He went back to sleep. The angel came a second time and touched him and said, "Arise and eat, for the journey is too great for thee." The journey is too great for thee. That is the word for the night you are entering right now. The journey has been too great for you, not because you are weak, not because your faith has been insufficient, because you are human. And the human body and the human soul have limits that the God who made them has never condemned them for having. He does not shame the exhausted. He feeds them, he touches them, he lets them sleep, and he provides in the night what the waking hours could not access. And the bread and the water, the specific, immediate bodily provision that the depleted person needs before anything else can be addressed, arrived in the sleep, in the night, without effort, without seeking, without the performance of sufficient faith to merit the provision, just the sleeping under the juniper tree, and the angel, and the touch, and the cake baked on hot coals. Tonight is your juniper tree night. The journey has been too great for you, and God is not asking you to generate more strength before He provides. He is asking you to lie down, to sleep, to let the night be the night, and to trust that the touch is coming, the bread is coming, the water is coming, not because you performed well enough in the day to merit the provision, because the God who watches over you without slumber knows exactly what the journey has cost. And He provides in the night. He has always provided in the night. Lie down, let Him provide. I want to go deeper now into something that I think is at the theological center of what makes the night a uniquely powerful location for the work of God in a human life. Something that most people who have thought about rest and sleep in a spiritual context have intuited without having a framework to articulate it clearly. And it is this: the night is the season of surrender, not the dramatic, crisis-precipitated surrender of a person who has run out of options and who collapses into God's hands because there is nowhere else to fall. The daily, recurring, a biological surrender of a person who releases the management of their life and their circumstances and their interior every single night, whether intentionally or not, into the hours when the conscious mind cannot maintain its grip and the defended self cannot hold its posture, and the managed version of life has to give way to the unmanaged reality of a person who is simply asleep. Every night, every single night without exception, every human being on the planet surrenders the management of their life for the hours of sleep. The question is not whether the surrender happens. It does. Biologically, inevitably, without choice. The question is whether the surrender is intentional, whether the person who lies down does so with the conscious, deliberate, spiritually significant decision to release not just the grip on consciousness, but the grip on the weight, to open the hands before the sleeping begins and to say specifically and intentionally to the God who never sleeps, I am releasing this to you for the night, not because I have resolved it, not because I have prayed the right prayer over it, not because the faith is sufficient or the circumstances are favorable, because you are the one who works in the night and I am the one who cannot. And the intentional surrender, the deliberate, conscious, hands opened before sleeping release of the weight into the hands of the God who watches over without slumber, produces something in the night that the unintentional surrender does not produce. Not because God is more present in the intentional surrender than in the unintentional one, but because the intentional surrender positions the person to receive in the night what the unintentional surrender leaves on the floor beside the bed. The releasing is the positioning, and the positioning is what changes what happens in the night. Psalm 4, verse 8, "In peace I will lie down and sleep for you alone. Lord, make me dwell in safety. In peace I will lie down, not after the problem is solved, not after the weight is lightened, not after the circumstances have aligned with the faith. In peace I will lie down, because you alone make me dwell in safety." The peace that precedes the lying down is not the peace of resolved circumstances. It is the peace of a person who has decided that the one who watches without slumber is sufficient for the night, even when the circumstances are not resolved. And that decision, made before the sleeping begins in the intentional release of the grip, is the specific act that transforms the ordinary biological surrender of sleep into the spiritually significant surrender of a person who is positioning themselves to receive what God does in the night for the ones who trust Him with it. I want to take you now into something that modern neuroscience has confirmed about what happens in the brain during sleep, that I think is one of the most extraordinary validations of the biblical theology of nocturnal divine activity available to the contemporary person. In the last 2 decades, neuroscientific research on sleep has established something that the ancient spiritual wisdom knew intuitively, that sleep is not the absence of activity. It is the most intensive period of certain kinds of essential activity that the brain performs. During the deep stages of sleep, the brain does something that it cannot do while awake. It performs what researchers call memory consolidation, the process by which the experiences, the learning, the emotional processing, and the information of the waking hours are transferred from the temporary storage of short-term memory into the permanent architecture of long-term memory. The things that happen during the day, the experiences, the insights, the emotional encounters, the things that were prayed and heard and processed, do not become part of the permanent interior until the night consolidates them. The night is when the learning becomes knowing. The night is when the experience becomes formation. The night is when what was encountered in the day is integrated into the architecture of who the person is becoming. And what this means for the person who enters the night, having been in this room, having prayed and been prayed over and heard the word spoken and encountered the presence of God in the specific ways that this video has been designed to facilitate, is this. The formation that happened in this room tonight does not end when the video ends. It continues in the sleep. The consolidation of what God has been doing in this room, the specific work of the Spirit in the specific interior of the specific person who has been present here, is going to be carried into the sleep and integrated into the permanent architecture of who this person is becoming. The night is not the end of the encounter. It is the completion of it, the seal of it, the specific biological process through which what was planted in the waking hour is established in the permanent interior. And the God who designed the brain that performs this consolidation, who built the process into the architecture of the human body before the neuroscientists discovered it, has been using the sleep as an instrument of formation since the beginning. He planted the learning in the day, he consolidates it in the night, and what emerges in the morning is a person who is slightly, sometimes imperceptibly, sometimes significantly, more formed than the person who lay down the night before. This is what is happening tonight. The planting has occurred in this room. The consolidation is going to occur in the sleep. And what emerges in the morning is going to carry something of what happened here into the permanent interior. Let the night complete what the room began. Sleep is not the interruption of the work. It is the continuation of it by a different instrument in the hands of the same God. I want to close this section with something that I think is the most important thing I can say to you before the video transitions into the sustained atmosphere of prayer and declaration and worship that the night hours require. And it is a direct address to the specific fear that most people carry into the night, the fear that is not about the night itself, but about what the morning is going to bring. The fear of the morning is one of the most common and one of the most faith-depleting experiences available to a human being. It is the specific dread of the person who lies down, knowing that the morning is going to bring the same weight that the evening carried, that the problem that was present when the day ended is going to be present when the day begins, that the weight that was too heavy yesterday is going to be just as heavy tomorrow, that the night has not resolved anything, and that the morning is simply the return of everything that the night was a temporary relief from. And the fear of the morning produces a specific kind of sleeplessness, not the sleeplessness of a mind that is too active, but the sleeplessness of a soul that is dreading the return of the weight more than it is enjoying the temporary relief of its absence. I want to speak directly into that fear with the specific, theologically grounded, experientially confirmed promise of Psalm 30 verse 5. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Joy comes in the morning. Not relief, not the absence of the problem. Joy. The specific, active, who divinely provided joy of a person who went into the night with weeping and who comes out of it with something that the night produced in them, something that the morning reveals as having been present in the night all along, working in the dark, forming in the sleep, being built in the consolidation that the night of weeping was always going to produce if the night was given to the God who works in it. The morning is not the return of everything the night was a relief from. The morning is the revelation of what God was doing in the night. And what God does in the night, the forming, the healing, the consolidating, the shaking of the foundations, the touching of the depleted prophet, the wrestling that produces the new name, always produces something in the morning that the weeping of the night was the price of. Weeping may endure for a night. The weeping is real. The night is real. The weight that the night carries is real. But joy comes in the morning. Not might come, not sometimes comes. Comes. The promise is unconditional. The morning is going to carry something that the night produced, and the God who works in the night is already working toward the morning. Let the night be the night. Give it to the God who works in it, and let the morning come. It is coming, with what the night was always building toward. Joy comes in the morning, and the morning is coming. Now I want to pray over this night. Not the kind of prayer that requires your active engagement, not the prayer that asks you to generate faith or demonstrate the right posture or sustain a level of attention that the exhaustion of the day has made difficult. The prayer that covers the night. That goes ahead of you into the sleeping hours and establishes the presence of God in them before you arrive. That addresses the specific things, the specific chains, the specific weights, the specific dimensions of your life that need the night work of a God who never sleeps, so that you can release the grip and let the night be what the night was designed to be. You do not have to do anything during this prayer. You do not have to agree with the right level of faith or sustain the right quality of attention. You can close your eyes. You can let the words wash over you the way water washes over something without the something having to do anything to receive the washing. Just be in the room. Just be present. Just let the prayer cover the night the way a blanket covers a sleeping person, without the sleeping person having to participate in the covering. The covering is being done by a God who watches over without slumber. For a person who needs the sleep more than they need the performance of wakefulness, let the prayer cover the night and let the night begin. Father, we come to you right now at the threshold of this night, not with polished words or managed faith or the performance of a spiritual posture that we are too tired to maintain. We come the way Elijah came to the juniper tree, depleted, honest, or in need of the touch and the bread and the water that you provide in the night for the ones who have been carrying too much for too long. We are those people tonight. The journey has been too great for us, and we are lying down, and we are trusting that the touch is coming, that the bread is coming, that the angel of the Lord is going to arrive in the night the way he arrived at the juniper tree, without requiring the performance of worthiness before the provision appears. We release the weight right now. Whatever has been in the grip all day, whatever specific thing has been managed and protected and carried through every hour since the morning, we open the hands right now and we release it. Not into the air, into your hands, the hands that are stronger than ours, the hands that do not grow tired, the hands that hold what we release without dropping it and without requiring us to take it back before morning. It is in your hands now, and we are going to sleep, and we trust that what is in your hands in the night is in better hands than it was in ours during the day. Cover this night, Father. Cover every hour of it. Cover the sleeping and the dreaming and the deep sleep where the consolidation happens, and the wrestling where the new name arrives, and the midnight where the chains fall, and the first light where the joy comes. Cover it all. You are in it. You have always been in it, and we are in the room with you. Father, I want to pray now with specific language over the specific things that the people in this room are carrying into the night, because they are not here with general weights in a general night. They are here with specific burdens in a specific night that has a specific texture and a specific cost. And I want to bring the specific before you. Father, I pray over the specific chains that have been present in these lives, the chains we addressed in the warfare prayer, the patterns, the assignments, the generational cycles, the specific bondages that have been gripping specific areas of specific lives. Lord, we speak to those chains right now in the night while the waking effort has ceased, while the managed resistance of the day has given way to the stillness of the night. Oh, we declare that the chains that are present in this room tonight are in the presence of the God who shook the foundations of the Philippian prison at midnight, and whose shaking caused every chain to fall, not our chains only. Every chain. And we declare the same midnight shaking over every chain that is present in every life represented in this room tonight. Every chain against the health, every chain against the calling, every chain against the finances, every chain against the relationships, every chain against the mind and the peace and the sense of purpose and the ability to move forward in the direction that God has placed on these lives. We speak to every one of them right now in the name of Jesus Christ, and we declare that the night is not neutral ground for the enemy. The night belongs to God. The darkness is as light to him. Be of we. And the chains that are present in his night, in the room where his people are resting under his covering, do not have the authority to maintain their grip through the night that belongs to him. The shaking is happening. The foundations are being moved. And by morning, not necessarily visibly, not necessarily in ways that the morning will immediately confirm, something will have shifted, something will have loosened, something will have begun to fall that has been held in place by the grip of the enemy for longer than it was designed to be held. The night is working. The chains are being addressed by a God who never sleeps and who works in the night with the full authority of the one who defeated the enemy completely and permanently at the cross. Let the night work. The chains are falling. Father, I pray now over the specific healing that the people in this room need the night to carry. The physical healing that has not yet been visible in the body, but that is being worked in the night by the God whose name is Yahweh Rapha. Lord, work in the bodies of the people who are resting in this room tonight, in the immune systems, in the nervous systems, in the neural pathways that are being formed and rewired as the brain does its nighttime work, in the cells that are repairing and regenerating in the sleep the way they cannot repair and regenerate in the waking hours. You designed the body to heal in the sleep. You built the healing into the biology of the night, and we declare that your design for healing in the sleep is operating right now in every body that is resting in this room. Not just the biological healing, the spiritual healing. The healing of the wounds that have been carried so long, they have become part of the architecture. The healing of the childhood wounds that the daytime is too loud to reach. The healing of the grief that has been managed through the waking hours and that the night allows to surface and be held by the one who collects tears in a bottle. The healing of the broken heart that has been performing wholeness for the benefit of the people around it, and that the night allows to be exactly as broken as it actually is. Work in the night, Father, in the specific wounds, in the specific bodies, in the specific interior places that the day has been too noisy to reach. Heal what the night allows you to reach, and let the morning carry what the night produced. Father, I pray now over the specific revelation that the people in this room need the night to bring. Lord, you speak in the night, in the dream, in the vision, in the deep sleep, in the specific, undefended, conscious mind-released state of a person who is no longer managing the interior, but who has released it into your hands. Speak tonight. To the person who has been trying to hear you in the noise of the day and who needs the quiet of the night to finally receive what you have been trying to say. Speak in the dream. Speak in the deep sleep. Speak in the specific images and impressions and words that arrive in the night and that are more clear and more direct than anything the defended waking mind could receive. And let the morning carry what the night spoke, the direction that has been unclear. Clarify it in the night. The decision that has been unmade, illuminate it in the night. The specific next step that has been hidden from the anxious, overactive, too much noise waking mind, reveal it in the deep sleep where the noise cannot compete with the voice. Speak, Lord. The night is yours, the room is yours, the sleeping person is yours, and they are listening in the way that only the sleeping person can listen, with no agenda, no management, no defensive posture. Just open. Just receiving. Just present in the room where you speak. Speak into that openness tonight, and let the morning carry what the night said. Father, I close this prayer with a covering spoken over every person who is going to let this video play through the night. A blessing for the sleeping hours, a declaration over the night that is beginning right now in this room. Father, cover this night with your presence. Every hour of it, the hours of light sleep when the sounds of the room are still present, the hours of deep sleep when the consolidation is happening, and the healing is occurring, and the formation is being sealed into the permanent interior. The hours of dreaming when the images come and the impressions arrive and the things that the waking mind could not receive find their way into the sleeping one. The hours of the middle of the night when the old anxiety sometimes breaks through and tries to pull the sleeping person back into the managed waking, and the grip tightens again around the weight that was released before the sleeping began. Cover those hours, Father. Be present in them. Let the presence in the room be the first thing the surfacing sleeper senses, before the anxiety can fully reassert the grip, before the weight can fully return to the hands that released it. Let your presence be louder than the anxiety, softer than the weight, more immediate than the fear of the morning. Cover it, all of it, every hour, with the specific, sustaining, never diminishing presence of the God who watches over without slumber. And at every point in the night when the person resting in this room needs the touch that the angel gave Elijah, the specific, physical, you are not alone touch of a God who enters the juniper tree moment, let them feel it. In whatever way the sleeping person feels the presence of a God who is in the room, in the warmth, in the peace that is deeper than the circumstances, in the specific sense, however brief, however quiet, that the room is not empty, that the weight is held, that the night is covered, and that the morning is coming with what the night was building. Joy comes in the morning. It is coming. The night is working toward it right now. Let this person sleep in that coming joy. Let the peace of the one who holds the morning cover the one who is entering the night. And let the morning that arrives, with eyes that have been closed in the presence of the God who never closes his, carry something of what was built in the dark, something that was not there before the night, something that the juniper tree and the wrestling and the midnight shaking and the angel's touch and the deep sleep and the dream all contributed to. Something that only the night could have produced. Sleep now. The night is covered, the weight is held, the chains are being addressed, the healing is in process, the revelation is coming, and the morning, with the joy that the night was always building toward, is on its way. In the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. You do not need to type anything in the comments tonight. You do not need to perform the response to this prayer. You do not need to demonstrate that something shifted or declare a breakthrough you are not sure you have had or generate the right level of emotional engagement with what just happened in this room. The only thing required of you right now is the thing that the night requires of every human being: the releasing of the grip, the closing of the eyes, the lying down in the presence of the God who covers the night and works in it without requiring your conscious participation. That is all. That is everything. That is more than enough. But if something moved in you before the sleeping begins, if the specific quality of the weight you carried into this room feels even fractionally different than it did when you arrived, but if the grip on something that has been very tight for a very long time has loosened even slightly in the presence of the prayer that was prayed over this night, type 1. Word in the comments. Not an explanation, not a testimony. One word. Whatever word names what is most present in you right now at the threshold of this night: peace, rest, release, safe, held, covered. Whatever is most true about the interior right now, write it. Let it be the last thing you do before the eyes close. Let the one word be the declaration that brings the managed day to a close and opens the hands for the night. And then close the video and let the music and the atmosphere of the room carry the presence of God into the sleeping hours. Let the declarations continue while you rest. Let the chains be addressed while you sleep. Let the healing continue in the night. Let the morning come with what the night was building toward. You have been in the right room tonight, with the right God, at the right hour. And the night that is beginning right now, covered by the prayer that was prayed, attended by the God who never sleeps, working toward the morning that joy comes in, is going to produce something. Not necessarily something you will immediately see, but something real. Something that was not there before the night. Something that only the night can produce. Sleep well. You are covered. The weight is held. The chains are being addressed, and the morning is coming. I want to speak one more time before the night fully takes over. Not to add another theological layer, not to give you something else to hold or another truth to receive. Just to say something simple that I think you need to hear in the specific way that simple things land when everything else has been released, and the only thing left is the truth in its most basic form. You are loved. Not in the general, theological, everyone is loved by God sense that has been said so many times it has stopped landing anywhere specific. In the specific, personal, you in particular sense of a God who knows your name and knows the specific weight you carried into this room tonight and who has been watching over you, without slumber, without distraction, without the limitations that every other form of watching carries, through every hour of the day that preceded this night. He knows the weight. He knows what the day cost. He knows the specific thing that has been in the grip and what it has taken to carry it through all the hours between the last time you slept and this moment. And he is not standing at a distance from the cost of it. He is in this room, right now, not as a theological concept to be appreciated from a safe distance, as the specific, present, immediately available reality of a God who is closer to you right now than the bed you are about to lie in and the pillow your head is about to rest on. He is here. He has been here through everything that brought you to this room tonight. He is going to be here through every hour of the night that follows. Truth. And the morning that comes, with the joy that Psalm 30 promised and that the night is working toward, is going to be the evidence of what he was doing in the hours when your eyes were closed and the weight was in his hands and the chains were being addressed and the healing was in process and the foundations were being shaken and the angel was at the juniper tree and the wrestling was producing the new name. Sleep in that evidence. Rest in that reality. Let the night be the night, and let the God who never sleeps watch over every hour of it. You are loved. You are covered. You are not alone in this night, and the morning is coming. I want to close this video and this entire first week of the Broken and Chosen journey with the simplest and the most permanent truth that I know. The truth that has carried every person who has ever been in the specific places that these 14 videos have addressed. The places of feeling forgotten and lonely and broken-hearted and chained and almost giving up and wounded from childhood and praying through silence and fighting spiritual warfare and doubting and returning from the far country and entering the night carrying too much. The truth that has held every person who has been in every one of those places and who has found, in the specific, unglamorous, costly, against everything the circumstances suggested finding, that the God who promised was the God who provided. The truth is this: He is faithful. Not was faithful in the seasons when the evidence cooperated. Not will be faithful in the future when the circumstances align. Is faithful. Present tense, active tense, right now tense, in this night, in this room, over this sleeping person, through every hour of this night and every hour of the morning that follows, and every subsequent night and morning of the life that is being built in the broken and chosen place. He is faithful. Not as a theological proposition to be affirmed from a comfortable distance. As the living, operational, immediately applicable, nothing can revoke it reality of a God who has never once failed to be exactly who he said he was to every person who has ever brought him the honest thing, the real thing. The wound and the weight and the chain and the grief and the doubt and the pigpen smell and the exhausted prayer and the barely a thread faith. Every time, to every person, without exception, without condition, without the requirement of a sufficient performance before the faithfulness is activated. He is faithful. And tonight, in this room, in this night, in the sleeping hours that are beginning right now, the faithfulness is active, working, covering, healing, addressing the chains, speaking in the deep sleep, building toward the morning, building toward the joy that is coming, building toward the testimony that is being formed in the broken and chosen place that every one of these 14 videos has been addressing. He is faithful, and you are covered, and the morning is coming. Sleep now. Come back tomorrow. There is more. There is always more. And the God who covered this night is going to cover every night that follows. Until the morning comes that makes every night make sense. It is coming. Sleep in that coming morning. You are loved, you are covered, and you are not alone. God bless you. See you later.